go ahead and get started. It is now 4:35. Welcome to the General Government Subcommittee meeting of the Springfield City Council. I'm joined by Councilor Martin, who is a member of this subcommittee meeting, or of the subcommittee rather, and we're also joined online by City Councilor LeVar Clint Bruce. Just for folks who are watching online, am I muted? Okay, I'm not muted. Just for folks that are watching online, if we could just go around the room and introduce ourselves so that we know who is in the room and they know who is in the room, it'd be greatly appreciated. I'll start with you, sir.
African community.
Gladys Oyola Lopez, City of Springfield Election Commission.
Chelsea Parmentier, Election Commission.
Mary Boone, League of Women Voters.
Jackie Pleat, Springfield resident, League of Women Voters.
Sarah Heenan and Reminder Publishing.
Thank you. And it also looks like we're joined online by Linda O'Connell, Tracy Carpenter, Erica Cruz, and Victor Davila, who is also City Councilor Victor Davila, who is also a member of this committee.
Glad to be here.
So the agenda item was the 2025 municipal elections. We talked about a variety of concerns at our previous meeting, which hopefully we'll have an opportunity to circle back to, probably not at this meeting, just to see if there are any updates. What I did want to focus on for this particular meeting are the discrepancies in the 2025 numbers, as well as mail-in/absentee voting. And if we have, I know we have a hard stop. As Gladys, you have to leave at 5:30. So hopefully if we can get to those two agenda items, we can open the floor up if other folks have any questions or concerns regarding the 2025 election. I'll get started. So Gladys, and or Chelsea, when polls close on election day, every news media outlet and the city of Springfield, I believe, on their website, had posted the total vote count as 12,623 votes. They also reported that 73 of 73 precincts were reported. Yet a month later, the Office of Elections updated their website to the total number of votes being 13,100. The difference in that number of votes counted on election day and those reported a month later were 477 votes, which, considering how tight many of the races were, was enough to change the outcome of just about every contested race. I guess my first question to you is, how does this happen? And can you walk us through the process from start to finish when polls close, and when you input the data and what that looks like?
I'm actually probably going to turn it over to Chelsea just so that she can kind of have a chance to speak on it. I'm clearly familiar with it. I do want to just kind of push back a little bit. If the 477 votes you just said would have been enough to change the outcome. So I think there's a bit of a, misunderstanding. Those 477 votes didn't change the outcomes. I want to make sure that we kind of frame it correctly. And I'll have Chelsea walk through. Do you want to from when the polls close at the polling place? Is that what we're looking at?
So certainly appreciate the pushback.
Yeah. Because I want to make sure, I think this venue is great for so many things, and one of them being to broadcast correct information to as wide an audience as we're able to get. So part of that is, just noting that the numbers, the outcome on election night was the outcome after election night. And there may have been a fluctuation in what each one, but the people who won still won.
So there was a difference of 477 votes that was reported
Mhm.
when 73 of 73 precincts were reported. And while it didn't change the election results, it could have. And when we declare winners on election day, we declare winners thinking that all of the numbers have been counted. That, to everybody looking on, and including every other media source, was not the case for whatever reason. Hopefully we'll find out a little bit more as to what happened. This is not an indictment. I think you all do a phenomenal job. I think the work that you do is commendable, especially considering the money that you all have allocated to you. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that these elections are fair and transparent and that everybody knows what's happening, especially when polls close. And so while the 477 votes didn't change the election, it certainly could have impacted those individuals who wanted to potentially contest the election. And if they don't know in enough time, then they certainly would not have been able to legally challenge the election if they so chose. And there were a number of close races. So hopefully that helps to clarify my point and also reinforces yours.
Yes. And we can work backwards on the election night, because part of what you just said is a good point. The results that are posted on our election website are not the certified election results. So I kind of want to say that as just a blanket statement. And while the media and all of us in the city that are interested in the results of the election do look to those numbers as the official election results, they're not what we consider the certified election results. So anybody that wants to hang their hat on those numbers, whether it's, a difference of 1 or 2 votes or a difference of 100 votes for each race, shouldn't point to those numbers as this is what is the beginning and end. There is a time frame beyond election eve, or the evening of the election night, and we can talk about it, I guess, once we unpack the actual process as to what candidates are allowed to challenge the election results and request a recount, whether the gap is 1 vote or 1,000. It's every candidate's right to do so, and we can kind of delve into that. And I'll just kind of let Chelsea take the lead so I can talk a little less.
So you want it from election night, close of polls, the steps from there?
Yes.
So every polling site has to post the tape, the final results at the polling site by law. So all of them do that. What they do after packing up is they bring the results are on a USB from the machine. So they get taken out of the machine by the warden and the police officer. The police officer hand delivers them to our office. So what happens then is it goes into what we call our ERM. It's like a self-standing. It's not attached to the internet, everything like that. Each one goes into that machine, and that's the election reporting system. So as that goes periodically through the night, we'll take whatever results have been read at that point. We'll put it to the city computer. It uploads to the website. So that happens every 5, every 10, every 20, depending on when we get kind of like a lull in people coming in.
And I'll get even a little more granular than that is the police officer, the way we're set up on election night. So the polls close at all of the different polling sites. Some of them are in the Indian Orchard area. The closer ones, like here downtown, will be here sooner. That stick, that USB stick, gets delivered to someone over the counter. So our election staff, including a commissioner, is standing ready to receive that USB. It gets handed to one of our election staff. That election staff runs it to me. So I'm sitting at the back to a computer that's what's called air gap, meaning it has no internet connection. And I sit at that computer with someone from the law department behind me and another commissioner in that back room. It's open to the public in that anybody that's in the front can see me because there's an open doorway and there's 2 open doorways in the back. So it's a public process that anyone at any time sees, including the police captain that's on duty, anybody who's working the elections, as far as staffing goes, can see the process. So they see when the it's delivered, they see when it's given to one of the staff runs it over to me, I take it, and it is a two-part process, so they hand me the USB stick, and they also hand me the tape, the matching tape. At the polls, the poll workers usually post one tape, we tell them to print out two. They'll post one that they leave at the polling location, the other one they will give to someone from any campaign if they, if they want it. And then the official one that gets run off has to be signed by all of the poll workers. So that tape has the signature of every single poll worker at that polling place. So say, for example, if the police officer were to have lost one or the other,
We'll manually
we
enter
can
it.
manually enter the results based on the election tape, and then we would have to recount the ballots and go into a whole other process. But we have that dual verification of the same numbers on two separate pieces of, paper, one paper and one USB. Once it gets entered into that system, like Chelsea was saying, there's several, if it's busy, we'll just keep entering them in until we have a lull that we can then run a report. That computer will run a report that gets saved onto a USB that is strictly for city use in that purpose. So it's a USB that allows us to gather information from this air-gapped computer that is then given to Chelsea typically, and then she puts it on her computer with the help of somebody from IT to then gather those results and upload them into the city computer in the front, which then broadcasts them on the website and is what the information that everybody sees out in the general public. And that's happening throughout election night.
So repeat the steps one more time. So
I'll let you repeat
Yeah.
those steps.
it's a lot. So you get the USB
Yeah.
from the police officer.
Yeah.
The police officer also prints out the results and bring.
The poll workers typically do, but yes, with the police officer, and that's the tape that you see taped on the
Yeah.
wall. So we get the official one with all the signatures of the poll workers with the USB.
Okay, so you get that and the USB.
Yep.
And then the USB is brought down by a police officer.
Yep.
And is handed over to who?
So at the counter, we kind of have a line of people. So we have a checklist of what needs to be dropped off at the end of the night. So it's like USB, payroll slips, it's a bunch of different things. So when the person comes in, they tell us where they're coming from, what ward and precincts. We check off that they have their USB, they have their whole, the balance,
The
the bag.
police officer.
Yeah, the police officer from the precinct. So we check off with them. We say, okay, USB, they give it to us. I'll give it to somebody else. They'll run it to Gladys. Like we have like an assembly line
Yeah.
at the end of the night. And then it goes to Gladys. She runs it with, like she said, somebody from the law department or one of our
So you
commissioners.
say she runs it. What does she run?
She's putting the USB into the ERM, the election reporting system.
Yeah.
Uploading those results from those precincts, and that puts it into the database for this election.
That puts it into the database. Okay.
So the information gets uploaded from this USB, the standalone USB, into it's called Election Reporting Manager. It's software that collects all of the data.
So how do you know if the actual data is uploaded onto onto the software?
How the screen is, I don't know if this is as like level you're talking about, but the screen that we're looking at, it tells us once it goes in, it does like not like a flash, like it flashes, the USB flashes, and then you can see the precinct pop up with the amount of counts that are
And
there.
it tells you the precinct 1A will pop up and say 1A, and it'll say 500 votes, for example. And I have the actual paper slip, and I can see that it's precinct 1A. I look at the vote count to say it's 500 votes that are marked on here, 500 votes that are in this, on this USB. Those two are the same amount of votes. I can't see who voted for what unless I were to look at the actual details, but you can tell how many in that screen. And so I continue to do that as they're coming in.
And then what happens with that information as it comes in? Does it automatically get uploaded to the elections website? Does it automatically go to the media? How does all of that happen? Because I'm assuming that we're seeing the numbers that you're uploading.
No.
Okay, help me understand.
So how it goes is, like we said, if we have, usually it's a line of officers that are there, so we might upload like 20 of them in this standalone computer before you see anything on the website. So we wait until we kind of have like some dead time. Then we'll take whatever has been uploaded from that computer that's come in so far, and we update it onto the website. And it's constantly moving as the night goes, and it could be every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every half an hour, depending on how fast they're coming in.
Okay, and so once all of the information is uploaded, who does the checks and balances to see whether every precinct is loaded onto the software?
It's as
It's
we go.
as it's going, we're uploading it, so we can see. So the view that is shown to the media and everyone outside it's literally an election night screenshot. Think of it as whatever is captured, and you would see it even if you refresh your screen, and you might see the same number for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's because it's a screenshot of the information that we entered from this computer in the back. So it's on this USB where we've gathered all the results up to that time, whatever that time is. Let's say we've gotten 20 precincts. All those 20 precincts will go to the front, and then that gets uploaded onto the website, which will say however many reporting. What happened that election night is it showed 73 precincts reporting I think it was the entire night.
Yeah.
From the beginning of opening of polls to the closing of opening of polls or closing of polls.
Yeah.
And we didn't realize that as it was happening. So that was kind of like an IT error that it just showed 73 of 73 consistently.
Mhm.
But it was the information that was gathered, and it's gathered from the USB. So as soon as we have these 22 USBs, then we send it to the front. And then sometimes we'll do it every 10, or if we have a precinct that a race. So for example, we have a precinct that we know all of Ward 6 is in. We can put it in so that whatever candidates are waiting for the results in Ward 6 will know. But it's continuous. It could be every 10, 15, 20, depending on if we have enough time to, switch over to the front computer, because we're not trying to stop loading the results in order just to upload, the report. Because we have to, so we upload each individual result into this computer, and when we have the time and availability, we switch out of the screen that's uploading, because it's uploading it into this computer, and then switch out of that screen to run the report of all the information that's been uploaded to date.
Which is like a 10-step process, so it takes you away from running the actual results.
Right.
Yeah.
So understood. So there was an IT error, where it said 73 of 73 precincts were shown.
The other time.
So that was the case all night.
Yeah.
It's my understanding.
Okay, and so at no point in time, no one would have known whether all the precincts were counted.
And I think another thing for election night to remember too is we don't declare a winner on election night. Results aren't official on election night either, because there's still like provisionals, there's still other things that we have to do afterwards. So I think taking those off the website,
We've since this so how this came to light was the request that Marjorie did.
So hold on. No,
Okay.
that's not how it came to light for me.
Okay.
Well, that's how it came to light for us.
Us, yeah.
So for us, it
Yeah.
came to light that there was a discrepancy between what was reported on the website and what the official results were.
Yeah.
From that email that we received.
So we're gonna get there. So there was an IT error that had 73 of 73 precincts being reported. We knew it at the outset, but we didn't know
No.
until the very end.
Until it was brought to
Until
our
it was brought
attention.
to our attention after the
Okay.
fact.
Yeah.
All right, so we didn't know. So I'm assuming that we've rectified that in the future, or there's a way in which we'll be able to identify it, and then so
Well,
it doesn't happen again.
Part of the guidance that the Secretary of State's office has given us and has said that people do statewide is put a notice on your website that the results are not official that, and some places actually don't post. They put an asterisk or some type of notification that websites results are not posted on the website on election night. I don't want to do that because I think people are accustomed to that. They look to the website for that information. So I still want to continue offering that, but there will be some language that tells people these are not the official election results, and so that it's very clear that they need to not look at that as, you know, the end of the night as the election results.
Got it. Okay. And so at what point in time did we realize that everybody that was reporting out on election night and the city's website reflected two different numbers? When did we know that we were 477 votes short?
So we weren't 477 votes short because the numbers and the information.
Wasn't updated.
Yeah, the website wasn't updated. So the information that we were giving out was the actual physical copy, because we, at the end of the night, print out a report from the standalone computer that has all of the election results uncertified because it marks it on the top. But that's the results that we were using to email people and send people. And we were using those results. That captured email that Chelsea emailed to Marjorie
Was from an earlier result.
was from an earlier result on election night, one of those screenshot results.
So I'm gonna try to get there.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure we walk our way through this process. So at what point in time did we realize that the number that every media outlet had, as well as the city's website, was off? When did we know it was off? You're looking at the numbers, and when did we know that the computer did not upload it to the software properly? All right, like what happened?
So it wasn't that it wasn't uploaded properly. So what was viewed on the website was before the results were certified.
Yeah, but we're talking a difference of 477 votes. I've never seen that ever in my life.
Yeah, so what it was the earlier snapshot from election night and the upload.
Was still the only one.
It was still the one that was there.
was
It's never
there, yeah.
updated afterward.
Every news media outlet.
No, because they call us.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying, so the results, we speak to what, if they were to read what it was ever on the website, then they're referring to that. But we typically have conversations and emails with news media outlets ourselves on the back end, and we're giving them the results.
So are you telling me that the results that you gave them were wrong?
No.
So the results that they were reporting were the same?
I don't know what
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know, because I did the research. Every result that they were, I've done the screenshots.
Okay.
Every single, including Mass Live and including 22 News, reported on that night that there were 12,623 votes being counted.
On election night.
On election night. So every single media outlet, maybe with the exception of Western Mass News, said that there were 12,623, with 73 of 73% of the 73 of 73 precincts reporting. And so nobody had accurate numbers, is what you're telling me. The only people that had accurate numbers were you all.
If it was on election night, it was still the uncertified results from when we were uploading them.
Yeah, so.
No question. I understand the concept of the results are not certified.
Yeah.
And that they don't get certified until a few days after the election.
What you're asking.
But they're never that, I mean, we're talking about entire precincts that were missing.
You're correct. So they were reporting incorrect information based on what they saw on the city website. Yes.
Because we were still in the process of uploading from election night.
Yes.
You can't still be in the process of uploading from election night.
No, what I'm telling you is you're correct. What you're saying is the information saying 73 of 73 and having that number was uploaded. That was a screenshot of election night, and it never was basically refreshed.
Yeah.
Every time we refreshed it, it's supposed to refresh up until the very end. Yes.
So I've never seen this happen.
No, you're right.
I've never seen
you
it.
know how and I've been doing it for 20 4 years at this point.
It's never
So
been an
It's
issue
never been an
to
issue,
the
yeah.
website, yeah.
It really
Okay,
has.
so I'm gonna give Counselor Martin the floor, and I'm sure others may have questions on the process, but I think the most important thing is that this can't happen again. So I'm assuming that there are some processes that you all have put in place. Counselor Martin, I'll yield to you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. My quick question is, the two that were missing, or the two that are, in contention right now, 2B and 8B, were they just like the last two to come in? Cause what I'm wondering is, did the media outlets kind of jump the gun a little bit and grab the screenshot before those last two were uploaded? Does that
No,
make
they were
sense?
one, I believe, I can't tell you right now, but I believe definitely they were one of the last two, because that's how whether or not they were the last two to be
Copy.
delivered,
Yeah.
they're the last two to be uploaded.
Is that like usually like 2B, 8B, like
No,
here's tabs, like is that?
it just depends
There's
on
no
where,
order.
yeah, when they're put in front of me and, which one I pick up first.
Okay, cause what I'm wondering again is like, did the media outlet like like I said,
No.
jump the gun, like see the earlier screenshot and then just ran with that
And,
saying, oh,
and to Counselor Hurst's point, it really hasn't
Yeah.
happened. So, IT and other issues happen, but that has I've never seen it in the, 20 some odd years that I've worked elections. It did happen. And in working with the Secretary of State's office, we're kind of working on things to address it not happening again, but also making sure that it doesn't become burdensome on the people trying to receive the results. I mean, because we've had everything from don't allow access to the official results from the website, don't broadcast them, to if you broadcast them, put in some type of language. Also broadcast them, but make sure you don't do it as you're doing it, do it at the end of the night once all the results are in. And I just want to make sure that once we, working with the Secretary of State's office, once the process is that we're, very transparent about how we're going to broadcast the results going forward. Just like we're explaining how we gather the results now, because that's something that, anyone who's in the office or around the office on election night knows because they've been part of it. But it's not something that's, front and center to anybody who maybe goes to vote. So I do want to make sure everyone is on the same page with what we're doing.
So I see, Madam President, you have your hand up. I'm gonna get to you in just a second. Just for my own clarification, when did you all know that the results that were reported on election night were different than what it is that you had?
So the results that were, the standing results that were being broadcast on the city's webpage
Yes.
when we received that email.
Yeah,
So,
because once they're certified, the certified results replaces the election night's results on the website.
so you didn't know until you received the email, and so when I asked, outside of that email, I asked.
Yes, that's.
And
yeah.
no, you keep.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's what prompted
Yeah.
the.
No. When I personally asked, not point of view.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So when I asked and I got the data was all zeroed out for the precincts. So when I got the data, the 3 precincts were all zeroed out. And then, so maybe you knew once there was a request made by point of view, and it was brought to your attention that the numbers were different. But when I made a public records request, or I think I just asked you all for the data,
You probably
those
got the
precincts
same
were still
copy.
not there.
You probably got the same copy. It probably hadn't, I probably grabbed the wrong copy from our scan drive, if you will.
Okay, so at that point in time, you knew that the results were off. At the time in which you got the email, which was probably out.
The email is, I believed, but maybe I'm mistaken, that the email is what prompted you to ask for the
Yeah,
whatever results, because that's when you said it to Chelsea, when you said these are zeroed out. You're shaking your head, but I don't want to.
No, that's.
social media post is how I found out.
Mixing it up with-
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I found out from a social media post, not even from anybody contacting us, telling us what they got was incorrect,
Okay.
which I think should have been the,
So at that point in time, you all updated your website.
yeah.
We
fixed
reached
it
out to
after that,
IT, we
yeah.
reached out to IT and said, this information is wrong. So we contacted IT and said, this information is wrong. And it
Yeah.
needs to be updated.
Got it. And did we notify the public at that point in time? Who had all been misinformed up until this point?
No, I did not.
Did we notify anybody who was actually running, whose numbers may have been impacted?
No, I did not.
Okay, Counselor, Madam President, Counselor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You asked the question that I was gonna ask, what would have been the process to notify, especially like us, of the number change? Because I didn't know about it until people started texting me the information saying that the numbers were wrong. And so I think as a courtesy, if something like that, any type of error happens in elections, it should be a courtesy for us to at least get the information and letting us know the process of when it will be corrected. And that didn't happen. And so I'm thinking about, like, because I got a call from former city councilor Sean Curran, and he was like, this could have really impacted my stance, or, you know, and there were very close races that might have prompted a recount. And at the very least, everybody running should have been notified when the mistake was captured. But that was going to be my question about the notification process. And is there anything in place to make sure we are notified going forward if something like this occurs again? Hopefully it will not. But if it does, what would the process be going forward?
Well, and this is part of kind of what we're here to take away from us, from this conversation, so that we can put all those measures into place. And that's something, you know, honestly, I didn't think about notifying the candidates in terms of the update, because all of the candidates still,
And you had.
the race was the race, and I had
conversations with
individual
them.
conversations with the candidates where the numbers changed, including Counselor Curran, including Counselor Davila, and some of the other counselors whose races were closer than the others. And some of the candidates that didn't win, who had came in, you know, sixth place in the at-large race, for example, to let them know that the numbers were still, you know, had them in the same position as before. But you're correct, there was something that should have gone out to everyone who was on the ballot, not only the sitting city councilors.
Yeah, I only say that because when we're asked questions about it, we would like to have educated answers for people other than, I don't know what happened, I've never seen this before.
I agree, because part of what happened afterward was us actually having individual conversations with so many people to kind of correct some misinformation that had been filtered to them. So I agree, that was a mistake on my part, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. So it definitely seems to me like there ought to be an established process moving forward. The idea that individuals who may have contested the numbers or their races, had they known that the gap was much smaller, didn't have the opportunity to do so. And they didn't have the opportunity to do so because they didn't know that there was a discrepancy in the numbers. And so as soon as you all found out it just seems to me that that information needs to get out to everybody, including the general public, because if I'm the general public, I'm sitting here like, hold on, there are 500 votes that are not counted. How did this happen? And how can we ensure that our votes are counted? We didn't talk about, I think I calculated 460 votes that made up those 3 precincts, but then you still had 17 additional votes that we still don't know where they came from or what precincts were different or what precincts were impacted. And so it just seems to me like there ought to be a better process, which, at this point in time, maybe we're being a dead horse. I hope you all are looking at some of your processes in-house in conjunction. Sounds like you're talking with the Secretary of State. Was this the reason why you all started having these conversations with the Secretary of State?
Well, we're always in communication with them about elections just year round. It's not something that we only speak to them when there's any kind of errors, but I definitely look to them when something like this arises. They're my first to go to, because it's, they're what I consider the governing body for any elections, and they've experienced this, on a larger scale. Any kind of hiccups that happen with elections, they've experienced it at least once, especially the Secretary of State's legal counsel. She is our go-to person, and I trust her, implicitly when it comes to any election-related matters. Part of what they are offering to all, and I think they may have mentioned it, at least in our budget hearing, that they're offering to all of the cities and towns is contingency planning and strategic planning around elections. And we're taking part in that as well, so that we can kind of gain information from what other cities and towns are doing and not try to recreate the wheel on some of these processes.
Got it. Okay. I was getting ready to say if there are no more questions related to this, we could move on, but it looks like there are more questions. I will start with Councilor Davila, who has not spoken, and then we'll go to Erica, and then we'll take questions from folks in here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this meeting. Commissioner Yola, thank you for your explanation. I just have a couple of quick questions, but I will say before I ask my question, I do believe that there's a point to be made about whatever that is, whether it's 460 or 477 votes difference, that people should have been notified. However, with that being said, I know that if my margins were closer than I initially believe, I might have requested a recount if I wasn't winning. However, I want to make sure that, one, we understand that, and correct me if I'm mistaken, Commissioner Yola, that any of the candidates could have requested a recount as the numbers were known at the time, correct?
Any candidate has 10 days after the election, so the 10th day after the election is the deadline to request a recount. And the numbers don't matter in a sense, so you can request a recount regardless of the discrepancy or the difference in both totals between one candidate or another. So 10 days is the magic number.
Okay. Now, this process is the process that we have been using for many, many years, correct?
Yes. The one caveat or difference I'll say is the system that we're using now is newer. It was always done with the system that we have now, which is 5-6 years old at this point.
Yeah.
This is how we have to do it. We have this air-gapped computer. We don't have a modem. The previous system was a little easier in the sense that as you uploaded the results, IT had connected, it was connected to the old system was connected to our intranet here in the building, and it would broadcast automatically as we were doing it.
I understand.
You would see more real-time results that were uploaded every 10 seconds. This system takes a little longer.
Okay. Now, I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, that you double checked this situation with Secretary of the Commonwealth, correct?
Yes.
And what was the reaction? What?
Part of what I explained earlier, which is assisting us in kind of working through like fail safe so that it does not happen again. And part of that is, how we upload the results, how IT helps us in uploading the results. Because part of what we do is we test all of these USBs before Election Day. So we have a test page that lives on the website with blank results as well, which I think might have been part of the problem. Is there's a test screen that we use to test this election prior to the election day. So all of these kind of things, working in the back end with IT to create measures so that it doesn't happen again.
Okay. Now, Commissioner, I just want to make sure, because I don't want anybody walking away from this meeting thinking that there was some impropriety done here. If there was any kind of change, you would have notified, if it would have impacted any of the races by, flipping the winner and the loser, you would have notified them, correct?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
I think part of, and I wish I had the email. I think how far after the election? I know it was 10 days.
It was over the 10
Over
days.
10 days after
That
the
for sure.
election. But I definitely would have notified someone if we had spotted any changes as to, winners and losers, definitely. But it was brought to our attention after the 10 days, which was after the 10-day period where you do have a chance to challenge.
Correct.
And
But
I spoke to some of
even
Yeah,
then, that didn't change the number, the outcome.
correct. I spoke to some of the candidates, a lot of the candidates who didn't win the day after the election.
Mhm.
And, kind of give them the lay of the land at what it is to file a recount, how to go about it, and, what they were, their rights were in terms of filing a recount. And some chose to look into it, others chose not to.
I
But
understand.
yes.
Now, I do believe, Commissioner, that we should always strive for perfection, particularly in elections, because our election system has to be without question. So I will agree with that statement. All I can tell you is that, at least from us, my race, my internal numbers were fairly accurate with what's being reported. And so the one thing that I will say is that I agree with you and with the chairman that in the future, those kind of information should be specifically given out to all the candidates. But, and so it's good that we're having this meeting so that we can assure the public that the elections are free and they're fair, as they have always been in the city of Springfield. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioner.
Just before that, I just want to point out that I did receive a call on election day from an individual who's working for one of the candidates running. And they asked me whether I had the information for 2B. And that was one of the few precincts that I did not have. And so I just thought it was interesting that they would ask me, and they obviously, because it was not a citywide election, they only had 8 precincts that they were looking at in that particular area. Actually, it was probably 16, and there weren't that many locations because we have some precincts in the same area. And so for them to ask me whether I had those numbers wasn't concerning then, but it was definitely concerning after I sent the request out and 2B was one of those that were zeroed out. And so I wasn't there getting numbers in 2B. And the particular individual who worked for the candidate only told me that they didn't have those numbers. So I don't know if they were there and didn't have the numbers. But my hope is that they were not there, which is why they didn't have the numbers. But 2B definitely stood out. And so anyhow, for what it's worth, Miss Cruz, did you have a question?
Yes.
Floor is yours. So long as it's on this issue.
Yes. Okay, sorry about that. My mute button was a little funky. But given that I wanted to note that given that there was an IT error on election night of 2025, it would be appropriate, as mentioned, to make sure that you do let the candidates and the public know that there was an error right away, not way later, just because you can have during that time frame, the public can request an election audit, and that is their right as voters. You can find more information on that on the U.S. Elections Commission if you are not aware of that information. However, I think it's very important to make sure that we remain transparent and making sure that we tell people when there's errors, especially on election night. If you guys were aware of the IT error, you guys should have let people know immediately, so then you guys can have time to organize and conduct a post-election audit. But that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding this particular issue?
Yes, Mary Boone.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Whitford, I will circle back to you, but go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm
Floor
sorry,
is yours.
Mr. President. Mr. Chair.
Hold on, Madam President.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Gladys, you mentioned you've been in conversation with the Secretary of State's office and that it sounded to me like they had made some recommendations for change.
Yes.
They made specific recommendations for change that you feel you're going to be adopting?
The one that they gave us, I don't feel like I'm gonna be adopting, just because I think it's probably do more harm than good to in terms of the candidates and just transparency for elections. As part of what they do and they recommended we do is to put something on our page that says we are not reporting out election night results on the web.
They only report once
They
official
only-
results.
Yeah, the Secretary of State.
That's what they were recommending?
Yes, they
To
only
wait until you have
to
the
wait
final
until we have the final official results.
After the 10
And why I don't like that is because it would be a 10-day lag time for the results to be certified and for that. And so we're working on something kind of a happy medium where we might put something on the webpage where it says, these are not the official results, but this is what we have.
Okay.
Amongst other things. So, part of it is how we do the USB, as opposed to just kind of doing it, when we have some time, just saying, okay, every 10 or every 15, so that then there becomes a standard where people are used to seeing 10 election results at a time, so they know that there's 10 results, 10 words, 10 precincts reporting, another 10 reporting. I think it, what is not seen on the back end is what we get are the phone calls from all the candidates, because candidates are calling us election nights. Are the results for this ward official, or are these the results for this certain race when it's a congressional race? Are they all official? Have you gotten all of the precincts for this? So those phone calls are happening not only to us, but to our commissioners, to interested parties that are in, people in the law department, what have you. So I think part of, which I don't want to say this is what we're going to do until we, come up with an official plan, but part of what's been in discussion is segmenting the results so that when we post them, they're posted in quarters or, in a certain amount. And people become accustomed to seeing it that way. I don't want to remove the results from the website. I think that's a solution. It's not one that I'm happy with. But yes, and we're going to continue to be in talks with the Secretary of State's office as we kind of hash this all out.
Thank you.
I also think it probably makes sense to publicize, if you all don't do already. I didn't see the official results because, while this time the difference was 477. I think it was 477 from folks like myself who were looking at the data. For you all, it was a difference of 17 votes. I think either way, we need to know what that gap is in terms of how far we're off. In fact, you all should want to know as well, right? Like at the end of the day, I mean, if we're talking about numbers that are outside of, I don't know what the common number is, 50, 100, we got to say, hey, what's going on? 17 seems to be.
I don't know where's that
reason.
17 coming?
So when I did the math, there were 477 votes that came from those 460 votes that came from those 3 precincts that were not reported originally, and the results that you all gave to me. When those numbers are put in, there's still an additional 17 votes that I assume we missed somehow.
Short or over?
They were short. So there was still an additional 17 votes outside of those 3 precincts. To me, that seems to be within the margin of error.
We don't. Yeah, 17 is not a number that we're okay with in terms of no. So that's why I'm trying to figure out what that number is and where it's from. Because what we, even after election day, so we have the hand counts. So that you're saying we're short, but is it a difference of, are those numbers hand counted ballots based on things that
There's provision.
Madam President, I promise you, I'm going to give you the last word.
no, and don't rush on my account.
No. These are the numbers. I've spent probably too much time on it. The numbers that you all posted, the new numbers were 13,100. The numbers given to us on election day were 12,623. The difference is 477 votes. Of those 477 votes, when you go back and look at the precincts that were not filled in, and the information that you all gave me, 460 votes comprise those 3 precincts, which means that there still is 17 votes that are unaccounted for or were missed somehow. I'm assuming they're counted.
They're counted.
We just don't know where they came from. But I guess my point is not to harp on the 17 votes. If the 460 are accurate and the missing 3 precincts, then 17 seems to be a reasonable number, margin of error. Maybe it's not.
Can I speak to those now that you broke it down how you did? After election day, we count provisional ballots. So anybody who went on election day, I think there was 6 or 9 that we ended up counting of people that went, they weren't on the list. We deemed them eligible. We counted their ballots. So that would have made up at least some, but there's different scenarios like that,
So 17 for me
Yeah.
was within my margin of error.
Okay. We don't make that.
Maybe it's not the status quo, but you all, I mean, you ought to look into it so that you know, and that you're conscientious in terms of the number of missed votes and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. But when you start talking about numbers like 477, that's significant. So anyhow, Madam President, close this out. I apologize to everybody who was on here for mail-in and / absentee ballots or other issues. I promise you, I will hold another general government meeting considering the interests in the next 2 to 3 weeks if our schedules allow. And we can discuss that issue as well as any other issues that you all want to talk about. Councilor, Madam President Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First question is, what is the time frame that councilors have to contest once the ballots are in? How many days?
10.
And did you all find out about is it 10 days from when the data is posted, election night?
Yeah, so 10 days, following 10 days.
So did you find out the error the same night?
No.
So would that time start over when the error was found
No.
out? No?
No.
So counselors will just lose time to contest the vote based on the error that they didn't make or candidates?
Yes, that's why the error is not okay, yeah.
And the recommendations that you receive, can you send them to the city councilor so we can read them and try to digest them?
Sure.
Okay, that's all I had, Mr. Chair.
Seems to me like we ought to get those recommendations out to the general public, or certainly on the website or somewhere where everybody can see them. Ms. Carpenter, we still have 3 minutes, 2 minutes now before Gladys has to go and before we're going to adjourn this meeting. Floor is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. And Gladys and Chelsea, thank you guys for continuing to have dialogue. This is really important. I have a dream question. So what can we do? What would be your plan to talk to the public about this whole incident? Because I think it is important to post something so that people can understand and have trust in this system. I know I don't have to tell anyone in this room we have a voter turnout issue. It's things like this that, just lays in the community without any sort of solution to it. So I'm wondering what we can do about that. And is there, just so that I'm clear, the 477 or whatever the number is, what happens to those numbers? Like, I'm not sure that I picked that part up.
I understand.
Yeah, I don't understand what you mean, Tracy.
The 477 number of votes that we're saying that wasn't counted. What happens to that? What happens to those votes?
So it was counted, it was just a matter of us uploading the results where those counts were displayed.
Okay,
we
so
were-
possibly it's that rough 16 that Justin's talking about that may have not been counted.
And no, those were counted too, yes.
Those were counted too.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Oh, I thought of something else since press is there. Are press, because I've seen it when you do the posting and it's very clear that it's uncertified results that I'm reading. Are the press not paying attention to that subtitle there? Because it does say uncertified.
I don't know.
I feel like they need a little responsibility on that.
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. If there are no further questions, then we could have a motion to adjourn this meeting. I want to thank everybody again for your interest in this. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Gladys. Appreciate you all showing up. And again, we will have another meeting in the next few weeks regarding other issues, not just related to the 2025 elections, but probably elections moving forward. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good day.
Take it easy.
It's wrong.